All right, mobility. So I did it again. I didn't record. So this is the second time this week that I gotta double up, but I'm gonna be the most mobile person when this whole thing is over. All right. So I'm gonna run you through this again. I might sort of not do the full 20, 30 seconds, but just ideally I'll talk about it and you guys can kind of spend more time as you guys are going. But starting with I'm gonna use it like a lacrosse ball, foam roller, softball, whatever you got available. I kind of like the ball. I'm just gonna get that outer hip, slide back a little bit so you can see me, and just cross that same leg and just nice slow rolls. End of the week, kind of hips probably tight for a lot of people. Just search around. I was saying, just you can kind of find, earlier in the week where I was tender here. It's sort of some different spots now, so a little different areas. So I'm just kind of again focusing on that. A little bit more on the outer for me. But I'll get, again, 20, 30 seconds, and I'm gonna switch and do the same thing on the other side. Happy Friday, everybody. Today doesn't look like the best day, but I think the weekend I thought it was supposed to be okay. All the days seem the same to me now, anyway. But nice and slow. Find that tender spot. That's all right. I can do it twice. I could do this probably all day long. All right, now I'm gonna get the hip flexor area, so right below that hip bone. So I kind of come down. Keep that back leg straight. I'll sort of tilt. I bend this leg a little bit, and just once I find it, just like I was kind of rolling the quad. And then once I get that real tender area, I'm just going to kind of sink into it and almost imagine my leg sort of rolling over the ball, sinking in. Trying to keep that back leg relaxed. And I'll get 20, 30 seconds there. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Deep breath. Once I find it, I'm just trying to sink into it. Right. And then from there, we'll start with our 90-90 stretch. So just good 90-90, I'm just gonna lean into it. Reach those arms out, try to look opposite this. It's okay to round the back a little bit, but you wanna try to keep your back straight as possible. I feel like I feel it more in this hip when I do that. I'm trying to get nice and long, sink out. Again, just pretty much for me, 20 to 30 seconds at each position. You can sort of shift your body around. But I'll get nice and tall, and I'm gonna try to get this back, work this back hip right here. So I always tell people, think about driving. We wanna keep the knees down, so you can almost feel like my knees coming up there. I wanna try to keep that knee actively down. I'm gonna kind of grab my hip here. And I always tell people drive that back knee into the ground, but I also want you to think about driving that knee out. We're thinking about trying to lengthen this. So more than just driving it down, think about pushing that knee out. And it should help you feel that right in that outer hip. But we'll do the same thing on the other side. Good 90-90. Lean into it. So look, opposite the leg that's up. Deep breaths. It's nice and tall. Grab that shin, hip, push that, driving that knee out. And then I'm just gonna go into some 5 90-90 switches, just rotate them. I'm trying to keep that 90-degree position as I switch. Open up with that back hip first. Control. What's up, baby girl? Wanna come say hi? Huh? Okay. Then after you guys get the 90-90s, 5 of those, we're just gonna come down to the ground. I'm gonna cross this leg over. So we're gonna do our, pull that knee nice and tight. Again, 20 to 30 seconds. I'm thinking about just taking some deep breaths. I'm gonna relax my head. Keep trying to pull that knee to my chest. And then I'm gonna try to push that knee. Try to drive that knee as far. So I'm really trying to push that knee that way. I feel a stretch right in that hip. I'll switch, I'll do the same thing on the other side. Relax the head. Keep pulling that knee nice and tight to the chest. And then I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna try to drive this knee away. So you want to feel it in this outer hip right here. So I'm trying to almost pull this knee down. Notice I'm keeping, when I do this, I'm not going too far out. I'm sort of keeping this down, and then I'm trying to drive this knee down. Show you on this side again, just so you guys see. As I go down here, and then I'm trying to pull that knee down. All right. So our adductor rocks, just nice and slow. I'll get my knees outside. I'm gonna straighten one leg out. As much distance between this knee and that toe. I wanna line this toe and knee up. So I'm gonna kind of get nice and wide. And then just, I'm gonna rock. And I'll get 8 to 10 of those, and then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Get out, line that toe and knee up, and then you can see how I kind of just widen out a little bit. It's just gonna increase that stretch. Feel that stretch all. Once I get done with that, we're gonna do a 30-second downward dog. So I'm gonna think about trying to push my arms push my body away from the floor as I drive my hips up. And I want to try to keep my back as straight as possible. So as I push my arms into the floor, it's gonna help me keep my back straight. So I'm driving up, I'm gonna push. Try to pull my shoulders back. Keep driving those hips up high. Get 30 seconds of that, and then I'm gonna scoot into my, so I'm just gonna step that right leg up. I'm gonna make sure that that left leg is back is straight, and then I'm just gonna actively drive my hips forward. You really wanna be active with this and push those hips forward. You can use your elbow to try to drive into your knee. You should feel a good stretch. Make it uncomfortable. I'll get about 15 to 20 seconds, and then I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna get that hip flexor. So I'm just gonna squeeze that outer glute, drive the hip forward. Feel it right in that front part of the hip where we're using that ball or the foam roller in the very beginning. And on the switch, we'll do the same thing on the other side. Slide that knee back straight, sink those hips forward. And I'll get nice and tall, and I'm just gonna squeeze the glute. Right in the hip flexor. We'll start going to our upper body. So I'm just gonna start keeping that foot on the heels, right hand behind the head. We're gonna do our elbow to elbow. So come down, open up. Okay, 8 of those. My eyes are following my elbow. I'm trying to open that chest up. Switch to the same thing on the other side. Really open that chest. I'll get 8 there, and then we're gonna do a slide under. So I'm gonna be here, kind of arms under the shoulders, knees under the hips, and I'm just gonna palm up, reach through. Play around with how much you're bending this elbow here. Sometimes by being up more, you'll feel more of a stretch. See where you feel it, but we'll get 5 each side. I actually get a little bit more of a stretch by not bending it. But I'll just hold it for a second, feel that stretch, and then come back. Five each side. All right, and then I'm gonna use this. I kind of like this for the chest. You could always do the side to side, but if you have something that you can elevate, use a foam roller, but you're just gonna sort of, here, you're gonna walk your hands out and you're just sort of, again, we wanna think about not dropping down, but we're thinking about pulling that shoulder to the opposite hand. I feel a good stretch right in the shoulder area. Again, it's how you're active with it, and if you're actively trying to pull that shoulder to the opposite hand, stretch it out, you'll feel the stretch. So that's what you want to do, and you want to just kind of hold that and breathe through that. You can play around with different positions too. So I'm sort of out to my side. I could always come in about 45 degrees, go down about 45, or I could go up about 45, and you can just hit different parts of your shoulder. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Try to think about not really good angle, but pulling that shoulder to the opposite hand. Just getting a good stretch in that front part of your shoulder. Same thing we did on the other side. Be active, actively try to pull that. And then we're gonna do our lat stretch. So I am saying a lot about how active you are and what you're kind of putting into it. It really is that. So with the lat stretch too, what I think about is I'm trying to create as much distance between my hands and my hip as possible. So what I'm thinking about is I'm trying to pull my hips back to my heels as I try to, you'll see me kind of walking my hands. They're not really moving, but I'm trying to reach out. As I've actually tried to pull my hips back. Try to get as much distance between your hands and your hips as possible. But when we're holding for 20 seconds, even though we're holding, it's like we're doing something. I'm actively trying to drive out and pull my hips back at the same time. If I'm just holding it and I'm not doing anything, not really getting a good stretch. So it's about being active, trying to really pull out. And then the last thing we're gonna do is finish with our floor slides. And just gonna come down again. I was saying when you start, we wanna make sure that our forearm, wrist, hand on the floor. So we don't want that position there. So if you are like that and you feel like you're tight right here, just hanging out here and breathing. Just kind of breathe, try to relax your low back. If you feel like you're arching your low back in this position, just take some deep breaths and inhale through the nose, exhale. And usually about 5 breaths or so, you'll feel a little bit better, a little bit more mobile there. And then once you have that, then we could start adding in the slide where we're gonna try to press out. And I'm trying to keep my low back down as I go. And as you go out, you're trying to focus on keeping that low back down. You can hang out here and just take a couple deep breaths. So I almost think of the floor sides as like a good, any of the stretches, like just a good breathing drill, but you're playing around, finding where you tend to arch your back. A lot of people will arch their back here. You want to make it harder, you can kind of bring your hands in closer. But, and if you do arch your back, it's not a big deal. But it does, I think it's lying on the floor with no weight is pretty safe. But if you're thinking about doing an overhead press and you have weight and you're struggling to do a floor slide off the ground, which a lot of people do, a lot of adults, you're probably more prone for shoulder issues or back issues because you're arching your back and you're compensating and whatnot. So just make sure you're aware of it. That's why I always like the landmine press, because it's not pressing overhead. When you think about overhead, people will tend to arch your back, and you'll see that with the floor slides. So anyways, happy Friday, everyone. Enjoy the day, and I'll see you guys soon.